I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, as you can see, I'm on Monria. Why am I on Monria? Well, this is going to be part of the first loop that I talked about in one of my Mayhem videos that kind of said that it unlocked new abilities or new things for me to be able to do. One of those things was to be able to go to Monria, complete some of the still waiting for supply missions. Now, my next video should be, if everything goes as planned, the precursor or the prequels or the requirements to still waiting on supplies. It'll still be through Toby. It'll still be on Monria. It's a very short step, so it's going to be just like a 1, 2, 3 type of video showing you what you need to do, showing you it's not hard to get the actual mission, that this is not something you just start into. It's a slow, slight mission chain, just to get to it, just to make sure, I guess, it's not, there's something there, I guess, before you just step into one of the best crafting missions ever. I talked about in a prior video that it was stated that 5 times would be enough to get you to level 10 in the craft. I do not believe that to be true. Maybe it's because I diversified a little bit into a different pathway on my crafting, but I don't actually believe so. I don't believe that if I focus 100% on mechanic components and didn't venture into metal components, or into electronic components, I don't think that that would have done a whole lot of difference. I don't think the fact that I've gone into textures would have changed a whole lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't feel like I'm getting the skills off of even like one of the here recently, the mega craft, where you do 1,000 clicks. I don't think that gives you enough skill to really say that I would be up to a 10 in any one skill within 5. My lights are going out again. It's a faulty wire is what I have determined it is. Anyways, continuing on. It's I don't think 5,000 clicks, or actually maybe more than 5,000 clicks. It's about 1,500 to 1,700 on a brand new BP to get 500 successes. When you get farther up, it obviously is way easier. I'm hoping to get to where maybe 1,200 clicks will be enough to actually get 500 successes, which would be enough to complete the mission. So I'll do my 1,200 at a time and then be done. We're not there yet. We're getting there. I may make it 1,250 just so I have that little bit more variance and whatnot. And I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like I'm going to be going more towards texture stuff, because texture stuff sells well. Not as well as basic filters. And when I could sell it to my tailor, the muscle oil compound B on the moon, because there was a need for it on Arcadia Moon, sold extremely well too. But because I'm not on the moon as much as I once was, because I'm doing some other stuff, which I'll get to in later videos, and because that tailor's kind of slowed down his play a little bit and doesn't necessarily need that compound anymore, I don't really have as much need to do it as I once did. So I won't say that I've changed everything, but I have shifted just a little bit on what I'm doing. And I think I'm going to go for right now into the textures, because I learned something about the textures, which I'm going to keep kind of to myself in this moment. And then later I'll go ahead and show it, just because I think it'll make for a better video later. And it will explain why I've ventured into textures. What I will say about textures is it is the one thing I don't have to hunt to get one of the components. And that is usually the most expensive part of it. So if I were to buy 1,000 clicks of basic stone extractors, it's going to cost me 140-ish% of the cost. So that's going to be around 14 head, I guess. But you usually get those back. And if you need, um, I guess it's not the most expensive part, I guess. I guess piece by piece it is. So if you take Bjorkite, the reason why Bjorkite is so much more valuable than Caldon requires 3 extractors, basic stone extractors, where Bjorkite only requires 1. So you have to you have to buy 3 times less, or you buy 1/3 of the extractors you need for the Caldon. Now, Caldon is still a very good BP. It's still reasonable. It produces a more valuable piece, so you need fewer successes to be able to get higher in the loot, I guess you could say, the recovery. The markup is still pretty good because there's fewer Caldon being made than there are Bjorkite, because Bjorkite is the easy one to make. So the components to make it are expensive, but the product is inexpensive. The Caldon is expensive to make, but the product is a little bit more to make. It's a little more markup sometimes. So that's something to take into it. I have popped some amazing BPs, which we'll eventually get into in that. I'm pretty excited. I don't say that I'm going to be a colorer for any of my life, but it might be something that I'll be able to do because of all the crafting I'm doing in this area. Also, general leather is another texture that you can do. I have the BP for that now. I missed an opportunity to buy a BP for that because I didn't have the PED, and it was very sad. It was a 100% condition BP, which means I wouldn't have this whole building up to it. And for whatever reason, it was for 15 PED. And I put my bed on it because I happen to have 15 PED, and it went for something like 22 PED or something like that. A 100% condition BP in a texture thing. Now, I know there's probably a lot of generic leather 100% condition BPs, but I would probably lose more than 22 PED trying to make a 22 PED or make a 100% BP, and it would be one I wouldn't have to make. It would already be there. So I tried to cut a corner there at a cost of PED that I think would have been smart because it would have been efficient, but it would have been an investment. What I know about general leather and what I love it about the generic leather is basically every planet has it. So there's no transporting it across the spaces and all that type of stuff. I just stay on the planet till I get my quantity, which is I would like to do 1,000 runs. So I really want to get 1,000 generic leather, turn that into the actual working leather, the one that you can use. I believe you get that little bonus piece when you do it at 1,000. It is the special number for that one. And I'll have to do that 3 times to be able to get 1,000. And if I want to get to a 1,200 click run, then I will have to do that. I'm not going to worry about that because right now I'm building my generic leather BP. But when I get on to Cowley, I probably will do my 1,200 click run because that will be hopefully what I need to be able to complete the still waiting on supplies, which is on Monria. So anyways, I'm kind of talking myself in the circles. I got a few notes. Let me go ahead and get to that real quick. So one of the things that has changed after me doing some crafting is my point of view on crafting has changed a little bit. One second, I'm getting really dry mouth. It used to be, I can't wait for the next unlimited BP to pop, so it'll be there forever. I can get to 100, and then this will be like a permanent item in the game that I can do, and I can sell it for a lot of money. What I've found is there's a lot of shenanigans that happen with unlimited BPs. So most BPs aren't worth a lot. And if you find one that is worth a lot, it's hard to sell it because the 100% is so much more valuable. So if you have the 100% and you have it a rare BP, then that BP is worth usually so much you can't even sell it because there's so many people selling the point zero 0.01 version of it, trying to get the same price that you would be close to wanting to ask for. Let's say a explosive projectile 1. So there are people that are trying to get 186 ped or 100 plus ped for that BP, when that was the price that some people are trying to sell for like 100 percentile, or maybe the 100 percentile one would be like a 250 ped, but they feel like the point zero 0.01 is worth 150 or 100. So that really it muddles the market. It makes it hard to understand. Whereas if you have a limited BP that is worth 150% of markup, it's worth 150% of markup. You grow that stack to be bigger, it's still worth 150% of markup. That is powerful. So where the change has come in is that I used to think limited was weak because it was here, gone, and done. The power is the fact that these limited BPs stack. So I have 538 clicks of welding wire. That 538 clicks is actually 5.38 ped. So if you take that times 150%, let's just say as an imaginary markup, that is going to be more. If I double that and I go to 10 ped 76, that's still 150%. You don't have the hidden markup. You don't have to raise a skill with an unknown variable that then people may or may not be willing to pay for. People may not realize that you're over here losing 1 ped items, which you're using to craft, like let's say basic targeting chips, which are actually 8 ped. They don't realize you're losing that to raise the skill of the BP, so they're not willing to pay for it. And those that do already have the BP and don't really need it, or are whales and are going to go buy it at max versus like at 30%, which you may have spent your entire career savings in Entropia Universe just to get to 30%. So there's a lot of things like that I'm not a huge fan of with the unlimited. I still want the unlimited. I still want them 100%. I like the permanency of them, but it makes me appreciate limited more. So what is the highest level of BP I have now versus when before I started going down this road? Well, I now have a BP at 72 QR, and I have another 2 in the 40s, and then I have some of the textile ones that I've only done a few times, like 1,000 here and there, and they're only in the 30s or so, in the 20s, and that type of stuff. So that's what I've done. But what I've found is by doing, we'll just say 4,000, 4,500 run clicks of textile stuff, that I have picked up so many blueprints that it's kind of mind-blowing. And I like that a little bit. It's very diversified, unlike basic filters, which really seems to give me ball bearings a lot. So many ball bearings, as a matter of fact, that something I'm going to do in the future is just go to Cali and be like, who wants the ball bearing blueprint, and just give it away to anyone who walks up to me, and just have like 20 of them on me. The first 20 people that walk up to me will get a ball bearing blueprint for free. Do with it what you wish, and then see what people do. I think that would be an interesting video, and I almost have enough ball bearing blueprints to do that just from running a few thousand clicks of basic filters and the muscle oil compound B, to be honest. But that aside, there's a lot of these. I like that some of the textile ones are actually limited, so there's really nice stackable stacks. which is where I think I've grown to have this appreciation for limited blueprints. So I've kind of gone full circle on this whole thing with limited versus unlimited on blueprints. I, as the seller, like having a limited run on these because it means that people come back wanting more. If they want more of those, they can buy the stack the size they want. They can buy the stack, use what they want, and then sell the stack. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits like that, and the markup is consistent. I think one of the biggest things that MindArc, if they could figure out a way to do it, is to have more when you look at the history of the sales of blueprints, to have a way to show this is a trade terminal blueprint. Do not spend 2 ped on a trade terminal blueprint that's worth 0.01 ped everywhere else. Don't buy this blueprint, like this blueprint was sold at 60%, so therefore it's worth more. I don't know, maybe they should have a new to barely used bracket for their markup history, saying that stuff that is from like 0 to like 15% or 20% sold for this range, and then the ones from 21% or 20.001% to like, we'll say 50% sold for this. And that would be a lot of brackets, and there would be some gamemanship in there where you would go just to like 21% or 20.4%, so you could be in that next bracket. But I think you're just going to have to pay attention to when people are doing that in the first place, and know that. Probably takes you back to the beginning of, if they're going to do that, then they might as well just pay attention to what's going on anyways. But I don't know. It's funny to me that the blueprints that sell the most are the ones that people have the fewest, and the blueprints that people have the most of, but then they have raised up ones, those don't ever sell for a lot. It's not because it's easier to level those blueprints, but it's because there's so much negative drag on people selling 0.01 blueprints. Whereas when you have 5 blueprints that have sold in a year, these 5, you probably witnessed these 5 selling, and these are 0.01 or whatever, so you're able to put more strength in it. You shouldn't have more strength in fewer cells than you should in lots of cells. That's not how the market's designed to work. So if you're still around at this point, take that into consideration, I guess. Anyways, I'm going to get off this. This is sort of my vlog for this month, vlog number 22. Going to be going into some of the crafting stuff here on Monria and that type of stuff. As you can see, I went ahead and did a Shoggoth run. This was 4 Shoggoth hunts, 15 ped each. There's a daily mission, and then there is a plushie mission, and then there is a chapters mission, all involving Shoggoths. But I'll cover that in a future video. Probably right after I get done doing this, I'll do another Shoggoth one and then show you what's going on with that. But anyways, if you guys want to see more videos like this, please hit the like, the subscribe, that type of stuff. Keep her in that bed, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.